Not that there's anybody here, except me and the horses again. For some reason, these horses are hanging out with me in the morning. Oh, whoops. Can you hear me? I'm gonna try using a dead cat with my mic. Oops. So, hold tight, fam. Hey, that was easy. All right, well, there's nobody here to tell me if it sounds okay. Maybe some people are mad that I moved it to this channel, the live videos. Maybe some people are disappointed. I don't know. It's hard to do a channel where you want to do different things because I've been watching more videos about what makes a good, how to make a channel successful. And the reality is you got to just stick to one thing. So doing my live videos and then random camp trips on my Wild Side channel isn't the way to grow it, it's the way to kill it. But then on the other hand, I had a following watching my live videos, so that was hard to do because I felt like, because it's like the people that are loyal are the ones that had to move. So I hope you all understand the rationale behind it, as I've said before, is so that we can come here and just talk about whatever versus making the other one just the camping channel. So we got Nam Num Ken with us today. Again. I'm pretty sure they're just hanging out with me because they want grain. The other horses are right over here. They got so much grass, but they act like they're starving. But what they love is grain. It's like a drug for them. And they've been hanging out with me ever since I was laying in bed. I slept in till 6 o'clock, I think. I don't get it. Some days I wake up at 6, some days I wake up at 6 o'clock. Oh, there we go, that's better. Yep, so it's great. We're having an incredible summer. Like, we're talking mid-80s. It's wonderful. Oh, that's right. I was gonna put this bad boy on. And it's supposed to get into the 90s. But even then, that's not too bad. I mean, low 90s. A couple days of that doesn't hurt anything. There, practicing with lighting. So you get the light behind us and it creates the glow. And then more of a contrast. But it's just the forward camera on my iPhone, so I can't do a whole lot with it. But anyway, not that it matters for a live video, it's just fun. I've been working on how to shoot scenes for my Western film that I'm working on. And it really is incredible what we have just with these microphones and my iPhone. I mean, I haven't created anything yet that like I would show. I haven't created that quality yet, but I think the audio is pretty good. And once I can get this horse to walk, she doesn't like walking in a straight line, especially if it's in the wrong direction. So it was hard to get, but what I was doing was filming these shots, because in my mind it seems, oh yeah, that would work really well, but then I want to film it so I can watch it, even if it's not good quality. It just works to help see it and see, oh yeah, that would work, or no, that was a bad idea, I need to tweak it there. Because obviously I have all my experiences just with making YouTube videos, and that's helped to learn what doesn't work more so than what works. And anyway, but then I got to talk to an actual film person, a DP, director of photography, and find out what they think about it. To say like, yes, that is a viable way to shoot that scene, or no, it'll come out 100 times better and it'll be even easier doing it this way. So anyway, but the great thing is it's given me more of an understanding of what it takes to put into it, because I didn't get the composition correct with my horse. So you got to think about a lot of things. Like I wanted to go from, you know, the rule of thirds. I wanted her to go from the right third. I was riding her. We start off on the right third and then ride and terminate where your eye wants to see you on the left third, where the eye wants the subject to be. And that creates a little bit of, what do you call it? I don't know what to, it creates something internally in the viewer where you want it to be correct. So you terminate there, but I didn't set it up correctly. So it was too straight, and then I ended up going off screen. So I was too far left. And then, so I tried to correct that, and then totally forgot about the lighting. I forgot to put my lens on for one, and I didn't set up, no, I did kind of set up for the angle of the sun. So right now I don't know about lighting, so I just got to be conscientious of where I set it, where the sunlight is, so I can see, okay, it had that kind of an effect. So next time I'll set it up at a different angle, and then just compare. And it's just learning by doing. And so like I say, I haven't created something that I would show off, but it's given me a whole lot of learning. That way, if I am able to hire the director of photography, I'll have a better understanding of what he's doing. And because, you know, when you don't have any experience, it's like, oh, how hard can that be? Throw a camera out there and video the horse. There's a lot that goes into it. So so it's been fun practicing that. Also gives me something to do with her, to make her ride me where I want her to go, because that's my main issue with her right now is I can ride her just fine when I'm with other horses, but if it's just me and her, she won't go. I need to take her out again. I did take her out once where it was just she and I, and she did okay. I mean, I had to fight with her quite a bit, but we did go. And then I made her ride up this steep hill, and then when we got to the top, I let her turn around and we went back. But I need to do more of that. I try to do it here on the property. And I had my other horse. I had Comanche Moon with us, and that helps a lot. Even though she was still kind of a bugger, it helps a whole bunch to have the other horse with us. All right, let's mess with this bad boy, because that's pretty light. Let's see if we make it darker. I'm afraid if I'm moving, oh shoot. I'm moving my head and then I'm blinding y'all. Yep, so that's what's going on here. Life's good, not having to go anywhere, or unless I want to. Not having to go do comedy anymore. Funny how I really enjoyed it, and then I just don't want to do it at all. And oh, there we go. And posting some short videos. Those are working out a little bit on my other channel. They started getting good views, and then they kind of trailed off. But they're fun. Gives me something to do until I get out camping again. Hopefully I can get out camping soon. I mean, I can go whenever I want, but working on a few things around here, so probably get out soon. Man, we got less viewers than ever, unless my view count ain't working. But switch to this. I'll just keep blabbing, I guess, for a little bit. The big question, why are these horses hanging out with me? Comanche Moon hangs out with me, and then Namnumkin here, this is Namnumkin, she comes and pushes Comanche Moon away. A lot of jealousy. So they do see me as this guy to hang out with, but I don't think they're just with me to hang out. They could be. It's possible. Like they used to hang out with Bo. Anywhere that Bo went, they would go, because he was the boss man of the horse band. A lot of people say gelding is never the herd boss, but that's just because they don't. They hear something and repeat it rather than watching horse behavior. I've seen, even that other horse I had here was the herd boss, even though we only had 4 horses, but man, he was. And then I think the guy that trained this horse, I think his horse is the herd boss. He's got like 10 horses, and he's got a buckskin that was actually looked a lot like mine, and his is the herd boss. So it's just not true that it's always the female. But of the herd here, of the 3 that I got, this one's definitely the boss. Ouch! Just hit me in the eye with her ear. She didn't used to be. She was, when I only had 6 horses, she was the low horse on the totem pole. Remember that? Remember how she pushed you around? Ironically, these 2 never got along when I had all the horses. Comanche Moon would push her away. And she had a baby and had to woman up, had to mom up, got that mom aggression to protect her baby, and started pushing her away, and then she became number 2 next to Bo. And then when I got rid of all the horses, these 2 have been really close friends. Funny how that works. You horses are funny. You're funny people. Hey, good morning, Royce and Jennifer. So that's 1. My number count is up to 3 now. Man. We'll see how switching channels works. I'm thinking about doing a live video on the other one where I just talk about camping or my living lifestyle. Also, I'm assuming the audio is good. Nobody's really been on here to tell me. I don't want to just ask 1 or 2 people, because you might want to stay anonymous. Oh, she itches. Oh, things are good. Things are really good here, except the poor horses have to deal with flies. The flies have been really bad, really bugging them, messing with them. It's so frustrating. Oh, good. Thanks, Jennifer. Audio's great. But at least we don't have mosquitoes at night. And also these little biting bugs. So she used to have all these bites on her chest, and they're clearing up, and on her neck and under her face where I'm scratching right now. She used to have all these bites and scabs, and they itched them really bad. But they're clearing up, so I think that's like a bug that's around in June is all. Thanks, Doc Holiday. Audio is fine, but is it superb? We want fantastic around here. So, let's see. For things that are going on around here, I'm kind of remodeling my cabin, except then there wasn't any smell, because for a while there was a mouse smell, and now it's gone. So now I'm thinking, why in the heck am I going to put all this money into it if I don't need to? So instead, I'm going to take the materials that I bought, and I'm thinking about, I want to try to make a little gypsy wagon trailer that I can haul behind my minivan. That way, if this filming works out and I go to Texas, then I can have that gypsy wagon to use to sleep in, and it'll also give me more space because I gotta haul some stuff with me, like for shooting, for filming. I gotta bring some things for the camp. I've got a couple of camp setups that I gotta do, and so I need all the items for that, like the big coffee pot and blankets and lanterns, and then I got to bring some clothing. So anyway, it's gonna take a lot more space than I've used in the past with traveling with my minivan, because if I don't have to carry extra stuff, my minivan's just fine. It's great. The size is perfect. So so I'm thinking about making this gypsy wagon, because my ultimate goal for a living is a gypsy wagon. I want to make it about 7 by 10 or 12, and I'm going to put it on a tandem axle trailer. But I don't know when I'll have a truck that'll haul it and get good gas mileage. So what I'm thinking now, I'll just make this smaller one. It's going to be more like 5 feet by 8 feet, and make it as light as I can so I can haul it behind my minivan. Because my minivan can tow about 2,000, 2,500 pounds, thereabouts. And I don't want it to be too big. Then the wind will blow it around really bad, and the minivan can't exactly handle that. But if I can make it really lightweight and small, it'll be about the same size as being in my minivan. So then I'll have twice the space. So anyway, that's what's going on for projects here, and also, like I say, working on my film and working on my horse. If I had actors here in Yakima, I could just shoot the film up here, but couldn't find any actors. But down in Texas, they're all over. Got some really good actors lined up down there. That's what I'm most obsessed with. But I do got to get a camping video out. Bear season starts soon, black bear. So maybe I'll start doing some hunting, which by that I mean riding around with her, looking for bears. Personal space, personal space. I'm pretty sure if I give them grain, they're gonna leave. Let's try it. Since I got the microphones, I can walk around. Can't really move the I can't move the camera. Not taking that away. All right, let's see if that happens. I'll give them some grain. I assume you can still hear me. And see if then they leave me alone. We're gonna find out if the horses are hanging out with me or if they just want something. Of course they're gonna pay more attention to the grain than me while eating it. But the question is, come on, you dummies. We're gonna be eating out of the same thing. Hey, hey. The question is if they're gonna, after they're done, I'm gonna get Sam the mom. And then the rooster goes and eats the leftovers. See how much they love their grain. Alright, now we get to see if they leave when that's over with. Oh, and there's a rooster. He'll go check out their grain when they're done. Took him a long time to figure that out. Man, I can't get this microphone to stay today. There we go. All right, well, we'll see now. Now I got that dang shadow in the view. Oh, she just pushed Comanche Moon away. It's the best way to see which horse is in charge. You give them grain, and then watch who eats all the grain. I mean, they get along pretty well. They don't fight each other too much, so that's why I've got them eating right next to each other. But like if Sam wasn't pinned up like he is, I would put his grain like 20 feet away, and I'd try to feed him first so he gets a chance at having his grain. So they're like a bunch of 3-year-olds without a parent if you're not hanging out with them. Well, let's see. Also been getting firewood. My life is simple. I need firewood, an insulated home, preferably, water, meat, and hay. And then I'm all set for winter time. And a bunch of books and movies. It's fun living this simple, where the needs are few, and getting a bunch of firewood is meaningful. I've got a bunch stacked up now. Not stacked, a lot of it's not stacked yet. I'm gonna stack it when I go back over to that other property. Jennifer asks, is it hot there? We are up in the hundreds. Oh my gosh, but the humidity is still awful. No, we're having a beautiful summer. It's supposed to get into the low 90s like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll see, because here at my place it stays cooler than where my app says. Hey there, maybe she is gonna hang out with me some more. And it's dry heat, so it's better. So I hang out over there in my shady area, and then when I need to, I get in the creek. But it's so nice. This summer is just amazing. Not for the horses though. They get sick of these stupid flies. And hey, she's hanging out with me even after she ate her grain. Yeah, well, how about that? So maybe she does like hanging out with me. I like hanging out with you. Yeah, yes I do. Yeah, we're fortunate. Are you guys, so Jennifer and Royce, is your guys' plan to stay in Oklahoma? Yeah, you guys are welcome. You can come out here, build up a tiny home on a trailer in time for winter. I can't stand humidity. It's I could when I was younger. I did a summer in southern Missouri, and it was a great time, and I could handle it back then. But now I can't. I can barely handle 90 degrees. I can barely handle 85 degrees unless I'm hiding out in the shade. And I thought I would get to where I could handle it better. And maybe if I didn't have my dogs and I was spending more time out in the heat, I could probably adapt. But those dang dogs, I can, if I come out here to work on something, they follow me because, well, particularly Maddie, because she feels like she has to be Well, I say that, she's not here, but usually she feels like she has to be within 20 yards of me. And so that puts that pressure where, well, if I go out in the sun, then I got Maddie going out and sitting there. Because, you know, a dog will be loyal to death. And so it puts that pressure on me thinking, well, I got to stay in the shade, so she stays in the shade. And so that's why I might adapt to the heat, like I say, better if I was spending more time in it. But there's no need to. I've got my cabin parked on that end of the property where it's in the shade until 2:30 in the afternoon. So like I can hang out inside of that thing or outside of it, and it's nice and cool. Also, it gets more wind up there. There's not the wind break that we've got down here. So it's nice and cool. Down here, the minivan is out of the shade. It's in the sun by 10 a.m. So, in other words, I don't have to spend time in the sun. Oh my goodness. Jennifer says their temps are 110 to 17 and humid. Oh man, that's worse than Texas. I guess I haven't checked the temperature in Dallas. I mostly check the hill country. Well, here comes the bugs. It's starting to warm up and the flies are getting worse. Poor girl, I'm sorry. I could put fly masks on them, but it's trying to bite my leg. But I don't know, the flies bother them all over their body, not just on their face, so I kind of feel like the fly masks are pointless. Oops, don't tempt this, yeah. Alright, well, today's live video isn't really taking off. Alright, if you're going to hang out with me, don't be annoying. Stop it. She's got a booger hanging out of her eye. Let's see. Western movies. Any Western movies coming out? Good ones? Hopefully Horizon 2 comes out soon. And anybody seen Rust? Apparently that one's out. Stop it! Stop it! I think it's the bugs. The flies are bugging her now. So she's getting... Well, maybe I'll try a live video back on the Wild Side channel and just talk about camping. Yeah, I sure wish, if anybody reads Jennifer's comment there, sure wish you guys could, I hope you guys can find a way to make your life more simplified or whatever it is that you guys need. It's a lot better, that's for sure. I just watched one of my old videos and I really liked it, because I'm making these short videos out of my old videos, and I thought it was really good. I didn't understand why it's only got, I don't remember how many views that one has, but it's part 2 of Camping Alone with Horses, part 2. It's the one where I start with roasting my coffee beans. And because I always think of my old videos as not being very good, but then I watch a few and I think, hey, I actually do enjoy these. But, you know, we're always our worst critic, or our best critic, whichever way you look at criticism. Well, this is nice. All right, well, we proved this question. If the horses were just hanging out with me for grain. I guess not. They've been hanging out around me since about 5:30 this morning. I go and sit by my fire and make coffee and breakfast, and they stand out near the entrance and just hang out there looking in my direction. And I try to keep that our cave. I try not to let the horses go down there so that the dogs feel like they have a safe place. Also, it could be a little bit like a bull in a china shop, because I got my stuff sitting around there and they could kick it over. But the other day they came from the other direction, from across the creek. They were getting some nice green grass on the side of the creek, and then they started crossing the creek over to our area, and I stopped them, but it was such tight quarters there, I couldn't really get them turned around, so I let them walk through, and they didn't step on anything. They just tiptoed through and headed out, so it worked out just fine. But if they needed to turn around, or if one of the dogs barked at them, which they tend to do, the dogs and the horses can be hostile toward each other. Then, you know, if they jump, then they can cause a lot of problems, obviously. Jeffrey says again, things get little by little, preparing for the last two kiddos move out. Yeah, that's funny, because I'm thinking about simplifying my life when my last two kiddos have gone on. My dogs. I swear, when my dogs are gone, they've passed on, I'm loading up my stuff on these two horses and heading out across the state. We have a cross-state trail where you can stay off of roads. Should get at least 1,000 views on the short. Yeah, I mean, it's all relative to video size, but it does seem like shorts, you get a lot more views of shorts, because, you know, people are flipping through them the way that they work. I mean, TikTok came up with that strategy, and then Instagram and Facebook have been trying to imitate it. Poor girl, she gets these flies inside of her ears, and they bite her, and they get scabs, and then she likes it when I itch the inside of her ears. Oh, poor girl. Aw. Most horses usually don't like it when you stick your fingers in their ears. So it just goes to show how miserable the poor girl is and how good it feels. She's not horrible about her ears, but she wouldn't normally like let me just touch her ears like this. Horses are hilarious. Are you doing shorts, Dead Wolf Resistance? I haven't noticed them. Of course, I don't watch a lot of shorts myself. Oh, hey, Chris. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I switched it over. Yeah, so the links will lead here, but if you're watching from the channel, so I posted a post on the channel, but those get even fewer views than anything. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like I got to give this channel a good enough try that people get the word. I thought about putting out a video over there. I need to start mentioning it at the end of my next video. So got to give this channel enough of a chance for people to find out. Yeah, thanks for joining, Chris. Yeah, okay. Shorts are fun to make. They're so much easier, and especially when I go over my old videos and just pick out parts. And I like it when I can come up with something funny when I see something that I can put together to make it funny, but not always. Chris is killing it with his Old West reenactment stuff. You gotta come up here, Chris. Let's go camping and show off how awesome you look in a video. I mean, I know you're also showing, getting into those movies, which is awesome. Looking great. Well, let's see. All right, so we covered the weather, the projects. So I might sell my motorcycle. I've got a motorcycle sitting over there in the bushes. I need to go get it. I ordered a new battery for it the other day. I got it the other day, I mean. So I might sell my motorcycle and my horse trailer, and it's hard to part with that motorcycle though. I always wanted one when I was a kid, well, when I was a teenager, and then finally got one when I was like 30 years old. I mean a Harley. I always had motorcycles since I was 17. And I didn't know how much I would love a Sportster, because they were, especially back in my era, they were considered a girl bike. But it's such a cool bike, because it's enough like tough bike versus, but also sporty enough. Like it's fun to take on corners and stuff. I mean, not if you're like really hardcore into that. I'm not. I've ridden sport bikes and they're fun, but it's not my thing. I'm not exactly a risk taker. But this is enough where it's not like a big fat boy, or what are they called? The big ones, where you feel like you're in a cargo ship. It's sporty enough, but it's also got some raw power to it. I was gonna buy a Japanese bike because that's the smart move to make, you know, like buying a Toyota. I was gonna buy a Yamaha, and they look cool, the style that I like. And I thought, well, I should test ride a Harley, a Sportster, before I pull the trigger on buying a bike. And I rode the Sportster over in Seattle somewhere, test rode it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the bike for me. It was just so cool. Sounds better, feels better. So anyway, that's the story behind getting my bike. I bought it when I moved to California, and so I hate to part with it, because I'm that way. Guns, motorcycle, animals, don't like to part with them. This stinking horse. Jennifer's responding to the Westerns question. Found a Western movie to watch, but Roy said he thought you gave it a bad review. I forget the name. Oh yeah, probably, shoot. I did a video about one that was bad. That was like last year. And then I talked about another one here on the live video. If it's the one with Pierce Brosnan, my brother and I left. We went to the theater, managed to get in for free, and then we still left. It was after the first act. We gave the first act a chance. We just thought it was so bad. But you lived on a bike, like literally, Dead Wolf Resistance? Did you? That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to travel around on a motorcycle. I say that all the time on this channel. I should have lived like this. I've wanted to live like this, or just like traveling. When I was young, I could have got away with that because, like, you know, oh, young guy on an adventure. I was gonna like stay at churches and stuff, because back then I was really religious, and I would have just contacted churches, asked them if there was anybody I could stay with, stuff like that. And it would have been a neat adventure, but instead I didn't. A lot of regrets, but Jordan Jonas, he lived the life that I wanted to live. He was hopping trains, went and lived in, where was that? Was it Siberia that he went and lived in? Oh well, I guess he did it, so I don't have to. Oh yeah. Primeval. Yeah, the Primeval. I hate that movie. Or is that the show? I don't remember. Main mode of transportation for 20 years. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I rode a motorcycle all through winter in Spokane. We had a mild winter. We had weird winters back then, so we didn't really get any snow. However, I did ride it when there was snow out, because I once stopped. There was these kids sledding on a hill in the city. I let them grab onto the back of my, I swear it was sledding. No, maybe it was skateboards. Anyway, I just ran across these kids. I let them grab onto my motorcycle and I hauled them up the hill. That was pretty cool. They got a kick out of that. But I rode all winter, one winter, and all we got was rain. So I'd get home and I was soaking wet. But back then I was young and tough. American Primeval, that's what it was. Yeah. I should put out an approved Western movies list. Except the problem is I'm too particular. Most stuff I don't like. Most movies I don't like, but when I watch a movie that I do like, you'd probably be surprised at the movies I like. I just watched, these are bad examples. Shoot, it was a Pierce Brosnan movie. They actually would call it a rom-com, but it was a good one. And then I watched, I watched the Friendship movie yesterday. That was a weird movie. It was good. It was odd. But Tim Robinson is awesome. Just watching it for his parts is worth it. But I love good story movies. And well done movies. Instead of just the tripe that they throw out. All right, well, I'm not coming up with anything really great to talk about. Oh, a good Western? All right, well, let's see. Oh, there you go. Chris James is, Chris loves that Jesse James movie. I'd swear I've seen it, but I don't remember it very well. My problem is Jesse James he lived in the South. I like Westerns that really take place, like the Outlaw Josie Wales. Like, I don't know if technically I consider that a Western. But Jesse James is an incredible character to watch, and from what I remember, I liked that movie too. Anyway, yeah, definitely take Chris's recommendation. I'm gonna assume you've seen Tombstone, and Dances with Wolves, and Open Range, and Lonesome Dove, and, well, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West. Once Upon a Time in the West may be too cinematic. I don't know. Oh yeah, True Grit. The Coen brothers. I loved that one. Yeah, 1800s time. Yeah, that's the thing. Anything that fits that, whether it's in the South or whether it's out West. Oh, well, for that matter, Gone with the Wind. Have you guys seen that? It's one of my top favorite movies. Let's see. More Westerns. Oh, the Young Guns movies are fun. And there is some good history in the Young Guns movie, although a lot of it's, maybe she just likes being on camera. Maybe that's it. Is that it? You like people seeing your nose? Horses are goofy. Dang, what's some more good ones? Appaloosa. Yeah, I really liked Appaloosa. I forgot about that. My brother hates 3:10 to Yuma. I didn't hate it, but as far as good Westerns go, Homesman is a good Western. It's not exciting. But it's a good one. And shoot, what else? But you said you've seen almost all of them that I listed, I think. Anybody else chime in? What's your favorite? Unless you're afraid I'm going to cut you down for it. Oh well. Yeah, the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns are some of my favorites. I'm not a John Wayne guy. I love John Wayne, He was awesome, but his movies to me were just kind of cheesy. I don't cut on anybody for liking his movies. I just like the it's like when you're young, you've got two routes you can go: Clint Eastwood route or John Wayne route. And I found the Clint Eastwood movies when I was 17. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. But you watch John Wayne, I believe that the guys making the John Wayne movies had a gay agenda going on, because almost every movie that I see of John Wayne, there's like some scene where these two guys are very close in an awkward way. Because when you think about John Wayne, it's like he was the man. Like, oh yeah, well, you all want to be John Wayne. You want to be like John Wayne. And then there, in every one of his movies, well, not every one, I think there's one or two that I didn't see it, but every one that I've seen, there's some scene where these guys are next to each other in some really effeminate way. I'm like, what in the world? Like, I see it and I'm like, how did all these macho guys see this and think like, yeah, I wanna watch more John Wayne movies? I don't know. I mean maybe you just like pass it up. I don't know. I need to get some clips and show, because I've talked about this with people before. I need to get some of those clips and show these scenes, because we all know that Hollywood has an agenda and pushing things on people. Anyway, I won't go into that, but I have a whole spiel on all of that. I think it even goes back to the early photography days. Not that there was an agenda, but and that's why we're on this channel, where I can talk about whatever I want. So you're warned. Well, I'll go ahead and say it. In the old-time photos, we all think it was normal back then to have your hand on your friend's thigh, stuff like that. I don't think so. I think that was certain photographers getting a kick out of it, because you go in to have your photo taken, and he's the man. The photographer is the man. You do, whatever he says, like, don't smile. Okay, don't smile, because the camera's complicated. It's magic, and I need it to work. So, okay, don't smile. Hold really still. Okay, sit up straight. Hold really still. Okay, now put your hand on your friend's thigh. Like, what the? No, just trust me. Okay, all right, we got to listen to that guy. I think that's what was going on myself. Because, back then, well, for one, it's the arts. The arts always attracts that kind. And I'm not criticizing those people. But the arts attracts homosexuals. It just does, and I get it. And so the photography was the arts back then. So it's just a theory, and it's not hating on anybody. I'm just talking about, because I'm able to talk about anything and everything. Well, and fashion plates too. I remember growing up, we had the JCPenney's catalog. And then also at JCPenney's, there'd be the mannequins. And I always noticed, I'm like, these guys are dressed up in a way that nobody at school dresses. Like they'd have these kids mannequins of the age that I was. And they'd like have their collar up and have a turtleneck on and then a shirt underneath. And like, it was really a lot of clothing and worn in a way that I'm like looking at it and thinking, no kids dress like that. Like, I'm not buying those clothes, putting my collar up. None of us at school dress like that, but they dress that way on the mannequin. And same within the catalog. You get these kids hanging out. Like, me and my brother used to make fun of it. Like, they'd be pointing at stuff and like, it's all very unrealistic, but I get it. When you're selling clothes and having it modeled, you want to show it in a certain way, and you want to show the clothes in a way that's like beyond normality, because you want to look at it and think, oh, that looks nice. I could look nice like that. And then you buy just one of the 3 shirts that the mannequin is wearing, and you're not going to pull off that look. but they got you to buy the shirt because, hey, look how good it looks on them. But you're not fully committed to buying all of the clothes that the mannequin's wearing, so you can't replicate the outfit. Anyway, that's what I take into the fashion plates too. That's why it's cool to look at. I think that they carry a ton of value into the history, but looking at the fashion plates and then looking at what people actually wore, I think is, well, I shouldn't say, I haven't looked at enough of them to know, but I think it's important to contrast or to compare and contrast what they are. But Chris looks at a ton of that stuff. So he's growing a lot faster and all that than I am. I'm intentionally trying not to get too much into history, Old West history, because there's other stuff that I'm trying to study. And the way that I study history, like Chris, I'd be diving so deep into every rabbit hole, because to find out, there's just always question after question after question to dig into. And that's why I just got to stay away from it. Not completely. I still study a little bit of Old West history. Right now I'm focused on the Billy the Kid history because I want to make a series from it. Yeah, you suddenly, there's so many directions in studying any history that you just like, especially when you're studying the clothing, like, oh, well, here's a guy who's got his, I'll make this up, well, he's rolled up his pant legs. Oh, well, how often was that done? And then all of a sudden now you got to pursue pant leg being rolled up. And then while you're pursuing that, you find something else that's a question, and then you get distracted and either you chase it or you don't chase it, but either way it weighs on you. And that's just, that's why I think in universities they specialize. But anyway, that's why I try not to spend, because I could spend all day long, and I love it, but I need to study other stuff. Thanks, Chris. Anyway, we're on this channel, so I can talk about my gay theories in old-time photography. I don't get into what, there's a lot of agenda nowadays where they take old photos and they say, see, these guys were gay. These guys were gay. It's like, no, you guys are really, really trying hard here to rewrite history. So I'm not trying to advocate for that. Doc Holliday says, any books you recommend on the Old West? When looking into books of the Old West, it depends on what you're pursuing. So are you wanting to study an Old West character? Are you wanting to study how life was among the city folks? Are you wanting to study how life was among the pioneers? Or how life was among the cowboys? My personal favorites are the personal accounts, preferably cowboys. My interest is primarily the cattlemen. And so my favorite stuff is the first-hand accounts, because even though they can forget things, and I mean, in everything that you read in history, you gotta approach it warily and with questions as to how correct it is. But you get the first-hand, at least you definitely get the first-hand reflections from the people who lived it, and a lot of accuracy as to what they lived and what they had. And that's what is most interesting to me. But like I said, lately I've been studying Billy the Kid, which isn't my normal type of history study. And it's also really fascinating to find out how things were in the mid to late 70s. Of course, then you also got to figure this is regional. Like New Mexico was its own thing. It's very interesting learning about New Mexico, because you learn about like my local history. I love my local history too. But you learn about that and you think, oh man, they really made stuff up for the movies. Then you read about the Wild West, literally the Wild West in New Mexico, and you're like, oh, this is where the movies got all their inspiration. About like the big cattlemen, speaking of John Wayne, the big cattlemen pushing out the smaller cattlemen, and they're corrupt. And then people stealing cattle from each other. And Billy the Kid did practice pulling his gun fast and shooting sharp. That doesn't mean that they had call outs like in the movies, you know, hey, calling you out, and they go out in the street and everybody gathers around. But that is like the closest I've come to finding out about guys who were concerned about pull their gun fast and shoot straight. And Billy the Kid used to do demonstrations. People liked. He wasn't the best shot. I think if I remember right, Pat Garrett could shoot as well as Billy the Kid could, and so could Jesse Evans. But there weren't many. There were some, which also is kind of cool that there was more than one that could practice and shoot accurately. And so it's more like the stuff that we see in the movies. And it's not like the movies, but what I'm saying is, okay, that validates where the movies came up with these ideas. Again, not the high noon draw. That goes back further when people did do their... it's like they took the 1700s dueling and put it into the Old West. But the cattle wrestling was everywhere. Horse stealing was everywhere. Fascinating to be learning about the 70s in New Mexico. Yeah, personal accounts then. If you want to learn about cowboy stuff, Reminiscences of a Ranch Hand, I think is the name. That was a really good book, really insightful, going from a guy who came out, earned respect as a cowboy, got some financiers back east to help him build a herd and a ranch. He had won the respect of some cowboys, so he was able to get some top hands working for him, because if they don't respect you, it's going to be a nightmare if they do work for you. And so you get this great story about a guy who starts, like I said, as a cowboy, and then gets his own herd and has his own group of cowboys, and then they drive cattle up to Montana back in the early days before there were very many herds. And they weren't the first, because it wasn't Goodnight the first to go to Montana, but it was the early days of going to Montana. So it takes you through the 70s, and like I did a live video a long time ago about this, how you get an idea of the first cowboys. Like, they were wild men. The next bunch of cowboys were pretty wild, but they weren't like the wild cowboys. The first era of American cowboys, they were wild. Like, they fought Indians, they fought off, probably fought wolves, but they fought off bandits, and they lived with the herd, and they roamed free. The time of Billy the Kid, it was still open range down there. I mean, it wasn't like cut and dried changing, but anyway, that's what Reminiscences of a Ranch Hand. That's what that book is. I highly recommend that one. I like the pioneers and cowboys. Yeah, a lot of good pioneer stories. And what's also neat that I really recommend, I have discovered, I started looking into local history, and the more you dig, the more you find all these great stories. And now I look at every town across the West, and I think there's rich history that some pioneers wrote, because you probably know this, by the 1900s and into the 1930s, it was really popular to reflect back on how the pioneers lived, because by then the West was settled. There was trains everywhere, there was shipments everywhere. Not everywhere, there was still rustic living, but there was civilization everywhere. And they looked back, because those people were now old timers, and so people were starting to realize, we need to start recording this history. That they started waking up and realizing, we just went through this phenomenal era, and we need to start recording it. And people were appreciating it. They appreciated old people back then, not like our sorry age today. There's a lot of us who appreciate old people, but So anyway, it was really common to write things down. And so, yeah, some people became books, like Laura Ingalls' famous book. But a lot of people just wrote. I have typed pages, well, typed because people later in the 50s found these transcripts, handwritten transcripts, and typed them out for people. But anyway, it's just personal stories that they just shared around. They're not in a book, and but the libraries have them, and I'm certain that's the case with everywhere. So if you like, Oklahoma has a rich history, and I'm sure you can find some good accounts of it. That's what I recommend, because for me, my personal love is my local history. Even though, like I said, I'm branching out into Billy the Kid now, and I love history everywhere. But it's particularly fascinating because it makes my world here come alive. Like downstream on my creek, downstream, I have read a personal account of a guy who rode from the coast over here on horseback. He was guided by some Yakimas, and he visited a chief down here named Auhi or Auhi. I don't know how it's pronounced. And he visited this chief and wrote about it right downstream from me. And so, that's pretty dang close to my own property. So I've got this history. So every time I drive by there, it's my imagination goes in. And then he rode off and rode down the hills. So every time I drive to town, I'm thinking to myself, so what route did they use back then? And, so it's a neat way to make your own hometown come alive with the Old West history. Yeah, let's see, all right. Dead Wolf Resistance probably got banned. Yeah, we'll see if this live video gets taken down. I like the Pioneers and Cowboys. Yeah, that's the stuff. Got to ask yourself what period in time you want to study. Yes. So Chris James is pointing out the period of time is all different. The area of the Old West was roughly a 30-year span. Historic events and characters from each decade. Yeah, my favorite era is the 60s here because to me it's like the ideal time. The Yakimas here were mostly peaceful, but they still had to defend themselves. It was still dangerous here, but not dangerous like in New Mexico. And there was a town 1 or 2 days of ride away, and that town is called the Dalles, Oregon, and it was stocked by steamship, so it was a well-stocked town. It wasn't like it was stocked by ship. It wasn't stocked by wagon train or something. And so you had plenty of supplies just a day or two away, but then you had out here where there were no people, very few people. So to me, the 60s is the most exciting time. As I often mention, the Old West, reading about it, is like a fairy tale gone backward, where you start with the once upon a time, or no, you start with the happily ever after, like the bliss, and then you proceed through the next 10, 20, 30 years, and it becomes the nightmare, where everything's civilized and the happily ever after is over. It's not a perfect analogy, but if you try to understand, you'll get what I'm saying. So the 80s were still cool. I kind of bagged on the 80s for a while, but because like I shared in this, there's that book I read from history in our lower valley, but about 60 miles from here. And that was at the 1900s, but they were still pretty much living. It was a pioneer story because they were about 20 miles away from the train. And so this town was still living as though it was like, late 70s, 80s. Things hadn't changed that much in all places. So like I say, so even like the 1900s, there was still Old West living in a lot of ways. So that's another one, is how close to the train was the town or how far away was the town, because that makes a big difference. So anyway, the 80s were still really cool. It's just that that's when fences started being put up. Actually, I think there was fencing around here. They started putting in a whole bunch of farms, and so all the grazeland got pushed away. People started bringing in sheep. It's a sad history too, in a lot of ways, because they overgrazed, and so now our grasslands aren't what they used to be. They overkilled the wild hares, the jackrabbits, and the sage grouse, so they don't live freely. You can't go out and shoot those because there's barely any of them. Yeah, Chris James's favorite is the 80s. But is that because of the fashion or because of the way people live? Like, my favorite is the 80s for the fashion. My least favorite is the 60s. But for the way that things were out west, like, in other words, I wish that the 60s had the fashion of the 80s, but the sparse population of the 60s. I mean, the 80s were certainly cool. Like, it was cool that you read the stories, you can go into a town, pay 25 cents for a hotel, go hang out at a saloon, or go get a meal at the cafe. I mean, you know, basically Red Dead Redemption, even though Red Dead Redemption is like later, but it's basically, Red Dead Redemption isn't perfect history. And it was still wide open. I mean, we think about how closed off things are now, even 50 years ago. I would love to just go back 50 years, back when there was still bare land, a lot more bare land, less population. Because these places around here, like, people used to come out on these creeks and fish because it was just so unpopulated. You could do that kind of thing. Like, when I was little, me and my brother, we'd go walk through fields and nobody cared. But nowadays, you got to be really careful that you're on public property and not on private. But anyway, I could go on and on, that kind of stuff. Yeah, the fashion's awesome for the 80s. But I mean, I also think that the trains helped that. They could increase shipment. You could get all the clothes out a lot easier, and the different fabrics. Yep, Marty loves the 70s. Hey, I think the 70s are one of my favorite eras now too. I've grown to appreciate them, and I get what Marty's saying, because the 70s was this transition time. Same with the Cowboys. That's why me and Justin have a thing, or at least I think we do. I don't know. He might be dead set that it's 80s. I don't know. But to me, I have the open-ended question of, when did the cowboy look get established? And the 70s is when like the cowboy thing was becoming formulated. Like, there were wild cowboys in the 60s, and they did their thing, but they didn't have like the uniform, so to speak, that they had by the 80s, and definitely by the 90s, where if you walked into a saloon, in the 60s, you couldn't necessarily pick out a cowboy. But in the 80s and the 90s, you definitely could. Like, okay, cowboy, cowboy, not cowboy, cowboy. Because the trends and the image really had taken shape by then. So the 70s are cool. They still had they had a large variety of weaponry, like the conversions. So the old cap and ball guns were around, but mostly conversions. And but then they were still developing the repeaters. Justin is definitely fascinated with the puncher history. We've had long discussions about what those early punchers looked like. Oh, I'd be interested in what you guys are coming up with, because my theory is that by the late 70s, they had a lot of the look figured out, like the boots, pants tucked into the boots, a 6-shooter, bandana, fancy shirts, vests, no vests, depending on personal preference. I believe a lot of that was established by like 76, 77. Oh yeah, and the gear. I think Marty came up with a somebody came up with the Shaps in the 70s, an image for Shaps in the 70s. And the quartz, I suspect they were using quartz for a long time, because even the mountain men carried quartz, which I lost mine. I think my dog took it, so I got this leather strap and I'm using it. But hopefully I can find my quart. It's probably buried somewhere, but that's all right because it's probably getting to look rough with age. Anyway, your starts getting very punchy. Yeah, so anyway, that's my theory. Is hopefully that helps. So if anybody wants book recommendations, I should post a list, but they're pretty easy to find, and you can read the and like I say, especially if you want to get into local history, go to your reference room at the library. If you can take the time, I highly recommend that. See, the horse is getting ready. Hey, is this still going?